Hello, I'm Darren Magee, and the topic for today's video comes from the questions: what is meant by the term narcissistic collapse, and what can cause a narcissistic collapse? Well, before answering, I would like to say that all of us experience emotional distress, or an emotional collapse, if you want to call it that, at different times in our lives. For instance, despite all our best efforts, we might feel it's something that's really important to us, or we might have our heart broken. We can all feel defeated, despondent at times. A narcissistic collapse is something else. I would describe it like an unregulated emotional implosion. Some of those collapses might be momentary, some might go on for a long period of time. But to understand a narcissistic collapse, narcissists have a very fragile sense of self. They have a constant need for attention, validation, admiration. They also have a huge sense of entitlement, as well as a lack of empathy for others. And narcissism can present itself in different ways. Most commonly, there would be a grandiose narcissist, which is characterized by haughty behavior. There's arrogance, domineering, and being highly resistant to criticism. With vulnerable narcissism, we see low mood, a sense of perpetual victimhood, a lot of guilt tripping, and being highly sensitive to criticism. But regardless of the presentation, what we often see are a lot of maladaptive defense mechanisms aimed at protecting that fragile sense of self. That's why we often see avoidance of accountability and responsibility, and projection of their own behaviors, their own motives and attitudes onto others. The collapse tends to happen when those defense mechanisms aren't working, or maybe have stopped working in certain situations or with certain people. The collapse can manifest itself in different ways, but narcissists tend to experience things like intense outrage, frustration, fury, anxiety, debilitating depression, even desperation. So what happens that those defense mechanisms aren't working? What causes a narcissistic collapse? Well, firstly, it could be because they're experiencing something they consider to be humiliating, particularly publicly humiliating. Now, this could be a failure at something. It could be others pointing out their errors. It could be others laughing at their expense, even if there's no ill will intended. Or they might be in a situation where they're out of their depth. No amount of self-righteousness, bravado, or intellectualizing can give them the narcissistic supply of admiration that they crave. Narcissists don't do humility well. They can struggle with the idea of other people being more accomplished in different areas, or having skills or knowledge that they don't have. Because of that weak ego, how others perceive them is of the utmost importance. They depend on the validation from others to feel special. If others don't see them as perfect, flawless, virtuous, this brings up a vulnerability in them they find difficult to cope with. They're reminded of their flaws, and as a result can find it difficult to keep up that pretense. Another cause of narcissistic collapse could be losing their public image, their status. Perhaps they're being exposed for their lies, their schemes, their bad behavior, and no amount of blame shifting, grandiosity, or victimhood can help them recover that image. This can lead to a shame-based depression. Or there could be the fear of losing their public image, the fear of losing their status, the fear of being exposed. For example, maybe they know they have done or said something that they realize wasn't right, and there are going to be consequences. They might plan a lot of excuses, things to say, try to find ways to shift the focus away from themselves somehow. But no matter what they think up, doesn't really alleviate the distress. And the fear of losing their status can be quite debilitating. Their fear of a future where they're not admired, being envied, can bring up an intense anxiety where they're maybe not able to function in the present. Some cases they might even find it hard just to get out of bed. Another cause for a collapse could be when they are faced with the reality that they are not as unique and as special as they believe they are. They're not as entitled as they think they are, no more so than anyone else. They don't get a prize for just turning up. They don't get any special treatment. No one owes them adoration, and no one is obligated to them. When their sense of entitlement is challenged, they might feel as if they're being mistreated. In reality, they're just being treated fairly, the same as everybody else. But their already low self-esteem and confidence tends to take a nosedive. They might spread gossip, claim victimhood, throw a tantrum, or they might show their displeasure by stonewalling, anything to try to regain a sense of control over how they're treated. Lastly, they collapse when they cannot get their narcissistic supply no matter what they do. No one is feeding their ego. Their schemes, magical thinking, sense of omnipotence either doesn't work or no longer works. No one cares about how special they think they are. No one is interested in how intelligent, attractive, or virtuous they claim to be. There are no enablers, no flying monkeys or agents to support them or collude with them. Maybe no one believes the lies anymore. Maybe they're being ignored. No one admires them, and no one fears them. They can become quite desperate in their efforts to escape that pain, to try to regain a supply. Maybe in some cases their reputation precedes them. People are onto them. Or in their attempts they just keep missing and hitting the wall. Eventually the intense frustration and anxiety becomes painful misery. Many people with strong narcissistic traits lack emotional insight. They're either unwilling or unable to self-reflect. This could bring up shame and vulnerability. To illustrate that lack of insight, a narcissist might say they are really hurting, but they're unable to say why they are hurting, what that pain is. And the lack of empathy might mean they either don't understand or they don't care why others won't give them what they want, why others are maybe happier or better off without them. The most they might do is just blame others for their pain. They might say, they might claim that they're actually being abused, they're being treated unfairly, exaggerate what happened, but find it difficult to accept or acknowledge their part in what has happened. Sometimes their solutions to try to avoid the distress of the collapse can be quite desperate, delusional, poorly thought out, as they try to escape the feelings of pain and shame rather than resolve the dilemma. Now, if they have been the cause of their own misery, they might say they're sorry. However, in many cases, they're only really sorry for the consequences they face, as opposed to being sorry for their actions. Now, there are times during a narcissistic collapse that they might actually realize they need to change something. They might seek support. It really does depend on the person how pathologically ingrained the narcissism is. Some might do a lot of work on themselves. Others, maybe they're just really looking for an easy, quick fix to the problem, an answer that doesn't really require them to have to do any work. I think the difficulty keeps coming back to those defense mechanisms, taking responsibility for themselves. If they believe the problem lies outside of them, then so does the solution. Or maybe they get a new supply, or perhaps the situation resolves itself naturally. They just go back to doing the same things over and over again. It's like they haven't learned anything. With covert narcissism, it wouldn't be uncommon for them to use the collapse, to use their misery as a tactic to try to gain sympathy, attention from someone, anyone, even if that's just on social media. So that's a brief outline of the term narcissistic collapse. As always, please feel free to use the comment box below to add anything I might have missed, or some interesting conversations start around these videos. But if you find this video interesting, please consider subscribing to my channel, and until next time, thanks for watching.